The day Eliana buried her mother, it rained so hard the grave filled with water before they could lower the casket. She stood at the edge of that muddy hole in Enugu, 17 years old, holding an umbrella that the wind had already broken twice, watching the men struggle with the ropes. Her father, Barnabas, stood beside her but might as well have been in another country. He hadn't spoken a full sentence since the hospital called. He just breathed, in and out, like a man reminding himself that breathing was still his responsibility. Eliana's aunt, a woman named Abijah, who wore her grief like a second dress, kept whispering, "God is in control," into the rain. Every time she said it, Eliana felt something harden inside her chest, a small stone. Then another. God is in control. She looked at the water pooling around her mother's casket. Then why doesn't he do something? That question lived with her for 11 years, through university in Lagos, where she studied accounting and graduated third in her class but couldn't find a job for 8 months, through the apartment with no running water on Tuesdays and Thursdays, through the relationship with a man named Joel, who told her he loved her and then, on a Wednesday evening with no warning, married someone else, through her father's diabetes diagnosis, his first amputation, and then the second, through the church services she still attended, not because she believed, but because she didn't know how to stop. She was Eliana Chukwuemeka, daughter of Barnabas Chukwuemeka, deacon of Living Word Assembly for 31 years. Leaving church was not something their family did, so she sat in the pew every Sunday, crossed her legs, opened her Bible to whatever passage the usher directed her to, and felt absolutely nothing. Pastor Nathaniel, a tall, unhurried man who preached without shouting, which Eliana found strange for a Nigerian pastor, once said something during a Wednesday Bible study that she wrote down without meaning to. The silence of God is not the absence of God. It is the sound of something being carefully built. She wrote it. She looked at it. She folded the paper and put it in her bag. She did not believe it, but she kept the paper. Her name was Rhoda Obi, and she had been Eliana's best friend since their second year at university, when they were randomly assigned as roommates and discovered they were both pretending to be fine. Rhoda was the kind of woman who laughed with her entire body. She worked at a hospital in Lagos as a pharmacist, and she was, in Eliana's private opinion, the most genuinely kind person she had ever met. Not the performed kindness of people who needed to be seen being kind. The quiet kind. The kind that happened when no one was watching. In the 11th year of Eliana's silence, she had started counting it like that. The silence, as if it were a prison term. Rhoda called her. On a Thursday morning, while Eliana was eating bread and groundnut and watching the kind of Nollywood movie that requires no emotional investment. They offered me the position, Rhoda said. Canada. Eliana sat up. Which position? The hospital in Ontario, the one I applied to 8 months ago. I told you. She had told her. Eliana had assumed it would go the way most things went, that the door would simply not open, and Rhoda would stay in Lagos, and they would continue their Thursday phone calls and their twice-yearly trips to Rhoda's mother in Abeokuta. When? Eliana asked. 6 weeks. The line was quiet for a moment. Rhoda, to her credit, did not pretend that this wasn't a loss. I'm scared, she said, and I'm happy. And I feel guilty that I'm happy. Don't feel guilty, Eliana said. You deserve this. After they hung up, Eliana sat very still for a long time. Another thing, she thought. Another thing taken. She did not say it out loud. She was too tired to say it out loud. But somewhere deep in the part of her that had been having a quiet argument with God for 11 years, she added this to the list. The week after Rhoda left, Eliana's company restructured. She was among the 12 people let go on a Friday afternoon, in a meeting that lasted 9 minutes. Her manager, a man named Enoch, who wore the expression of someone who had been asked to do something he hated, pushed a folder across the table and said, We're offering 3 months severance. HR will be in touch. 3 months severance. Her father's medication alone was 40,000 naira a month. She took the folder. She shook Enoch's hand because she had been raised with manners, even when manners felt like cruelty. She walked to her car in the parking lot, sat down, closed the door, and pressed her forehead against the steering wheel. "Okay," she said to no one or perhaps to someone. "Okay, I am listening. What exactly is happening?" No answer. She sat up. She drove home. She did not cry. She had run out of tears somewhere around year 7. Keturah ran the small provisions shop 2 streets from Eliana's apartment building in Surulere. Eliana had been buying rice and Milo and phone credit from her for 3 years without ever really seeing her. The way you stop seeing things that are always there. But the Tuesday after she lost her job, she went to buy credit and found herself standing at the counter after the transaction was complete, unable to make herself move. Keturah looked at her over the top of her reading glasses. She was somewhere in her 50s, with the kind of face that had held a great deal of life without becoming hard. "You want to sit down?" she asked. "I'm fine," Eliana said. "I didn't ask if you were fine. I asked if you want to sit down." Eliana sat down. She didn't plan to say anything, but Keturah put a cup of tea in front of her. Real tea, the kind with milk, not the watery version, and something about the unexpectedness of that small kindness broke something open. "I don't understand what God is doing," Eliana heard herself say. "Or if he's doing anything. I've been waiting my entire adult life for something, just something, to show me that he sees me. And I keep losing things. My mother.
My relationship, my job.
My best friend just moved to Canada. My father is sick and I am the only one. There is no one else. It is only me." She stopped. Her hands were shaking. Keturah did not say God is in control. She did not say everything happens for a reason. She said, "How long has this been going on?" 11 years, Eliana said. Keturah was quiet for a moment. Then she said something Eliana did not expect. "I know a man who waited 23 years. You want to hear his story?" Keturah's husband had been named Amos. She said his name the way you say the name of something precious that is gone but not forgotten, carefully with full attention. He was an engineer, she said. Brilliant man. His company kept promising promotion, never delivering. Every year they gave the position to someone else, less experienced, less dedicated, sometimes less qualified. For 8 years, Amos watched this happen. He was a praying man, every morning without fail, fasting every first week of the month. He asked God for one thing, vindication. Just let them see what I'm worth. She paused to pour herself tea. In the 9th year, the company folded. No warning. The owner had been mismanaging funds for years. Amos was 41 years old with 2 children and no job. She looked at Eliana steadily. He was angry with God. He didn't leave the church, but inside he had left. You understand that kind? Present in body, absent in faith. Eliana nodded. She understood that kind. He took a small job with a construction company, completely below his level. He was doing site supervision for a man building a house in Ikoyi. Just one man. Private project? He almost didn't take the job. It felt like embarrassment, like going backwards. But we needed the money, so he took it. She set her cup down. The man building the house was a director of a multinational. His regular engineer had fallen ill. He watched Amos work for 3 weeks, just watched. And at the end of the 3rd week, he called Amos into the main house and offered him a position that was better than anything the first company had ever offered him. Better salary, better title, international travel, full authority. Everything Amos had prayed for at 41 was given to him at 41, but only because every single thing that came before had put him in that exact location at that exact time. The shop was very quiet. Outside, an Okada horn sounded somewhere on the street. He said afterwards, Keturah continued, that if the promotion had come at year 1, he wouldn't have been ready. He would have collapsed under the authority. The waiting wasn't punishment. It was construction. God was building something in him that the promotion required. She folded her hands on the counter. Amos died 4 years ago. Heart attack, very sudden. But he died knowing that every silent year had a reason. That was his peace. Eliana looked down at her hands, the stone in her chest. The one that had been growing since that rainy day in Enugu felt different suddenly. Not gone, but different, like something had shifted very slightly inside it. She didn't say anything for a long time. Then she said, "How do you keep believing when you can't see anything?" Keturah smiled. "You keep believing because you understand that your view is very, very small. And God's view is very, very large. And the fact that you cannot see what He is building does not mean nothing is being built. 2 weeks later, Eliana got an email. She almost deleted it. The subject line read, "Regarding your application, Okafor and Partners," and she could not remember applying to any company by that name. Her memory of the last 3 months was chaotic. She had submitted applications everywhere, to everything, with the manic energy of someone who is afraid of stillness. She opened it. It was from a man named Joanna Okafor, a woman. She realized with an unusual name, the founder of a financial consulting firm that had opened a Lagos office 8 months ago. The email was brief and direct. "Miss Chukwuemeka, your CV was referred to us by a former colleague. We are looking for a senior financial analyst. We'd like to speak with you. Are you available Thursday?" She read it twice. Then she went to look up Okafor and Partners. What she found made her sit very still for the second time in 3 weeks. The firm was well established, well respected, based in Abuja with clients across West Africa. The Lagos office was new but positioned to grow. The salary range listed on their website for a senior financial analyst was 3 times what she had been earning. 3 times. She called Rhoda in Canada. "Apply," Rhoda said immediately. "Eliana, apply?" "I didn't even apply. Someone referred my CV." "Apply," Rhoda said. "Someone saw your work and thought of you. That is not a coincidence. That is a door." The interview was on a Thursday. She wore her navy dress, the one she saved for important things, and arrived 11 minutes early and sat in the reception of an office that smelled like new carpet and ambition. Joanna Okafor was not what Eliana expected. She was perhaps 40, with the kind of calm authority that doesn't need volume. She looked at Eliana across the table with the focused attention of someone who is genuinely assessing. "Not performing assessment? You've been in accounting for 9 years, she said. Looking at the CV, why didn't you move to senior positions earlier? Eliana considered a careful professional answer. Then she decided against it. I was at a company that didn't promote based on merit, she said. I stayed longer than I should have, because stability felt safer than risk. And then the decision was made for me. She paused. I won't say the waiting was wasted. I think I know more now than I would have known if I had moved faster. Joanna looked at her for a moment. Then she wrote something down. The interview lasted 1 hour and 40 minutes. Most interviews ended in 45. Joanna called her personally, not through HR, personally, 4 days later. We'd like to offer you the position, she said. Take a day to look over the terms, but I want you to know your answer about the waiting. That told me everything I needed to know about your character. Eliana sat down on her kitchen floor, not because she was weak, but because her legs just stopped working and the floor was there. She pressed the phone against her chest after the call ended and breathed. In and out, like her father that day in the rain. But different. Her father had breathed like a man reminding himself to keep living. She was breathing like a woman who had just remembered why she was alive. She should have been happy. She was happy. But that night, alone in her apartment with the offer letter open on her laptop, something else cracked open. Because now that the door was finally open, now that she could see the shape of what had been built, the 11 years of silence felt very close and very real. Not healed, not erased, but present, the way old wounds present themselves when the body finally feels safe enough to acknowledge them. She sat on the floor of her bathroom, which is where she always went when things got too large for other rooms. And she did something she had not done in a very long time. She prayed. Not the careful Sunday morning kind of prayer. Not the kind that uses the right words and the right posture. The ugly kind. The kind that begins, I don't even know if you're listening, and continues from there. I am angry, she said, to the ceiling, to God, to whoever was in that bathroom with her. I want you to know that. I am angry about Mama. I am angry about Joel. I'm angry about the job and the 8 months and the years of sitting in that church, feeling nothing. I am angry about watching my father lose pieces of himself while I prayed and nothing. Changed fast enough? She wiped her face. Her hands were shaking again. But I also need to say, I can see it now, a little. I can see that if I had gotten what I wanted when I wanted it, I would not be the person who could handle what you are giving me now. I can see that. And I hate that I can see it, because it means you were right, and I was just scared and alone, and I didn't understand. She put her face in her hands. I miss my mother. I have missed her every single day for 11 years, and no theology makes that easier. But if she were here right now, she would tell me that you never forgot me. She believed that about you. She believed it until the last day. Outside somewhere, a night bird was making its sound. Soft and persistent. I want to believe it too, Eliana said. Help me believe it again, please. The bathroom was quiet, but it was a different kind of quiet than the silence of 11 years. This quiet had texture, weight, the way the air feels just before rain. Full of something that is about to happen. She didn't hear a voice. There was no dramatic sign, but something inside her chest, something that had been building, its walls stone by stone since she was 17 years, old in the rain. It moved.
Not crumbled.
Not collapsed. Moved like a door swinging open, slowly, on hinges that had been still for a very long time. She called her father the next morning. Barnabas answered on the second ring, which was unusual. He normally let it ring 4 times. A habit she had never understood and never questioned. Eliana. His voice still had that quality it had developed after her mother died. Quieter than it used to be. More deliberate. As if he had decided that words were more precious than he had previously treated them. Daddy, I got a job. He was silent for a moment. Then, tell me. She told him everything. The email, the interview, the phone call from Joanna, the salary. At the salary, he made a sound she hadn't heard from him in a very long time. Almost a laugh. Not quite, but close. You know, he said, after she had finished. The month your mother died. She made me promise something. Eliana hadn't known this. In 11 years, he had never said it. She knew she was going. She knew before the doctors confirmed it. She said to me, Barnabas, promise me you will stay in faith. And promise me you will tell Eliana that God has not forgotten her. I promised. But then I couldn't say it. I was too broken to say anything for too long. And then when I could speak again, I didn't know how to bring it up without... He stopped. His breath was uneven. I failed in that promise. I kept the first part. I never left faith. But the second part, I didn't say it. Eliana pressed her phone harder against her ear. So let me say it now, Barnabas continued. And his voice was unsteady but certain. The way faith sounds when it has been tested to its edges and survived. God has not forgotten you. He never forgot you. Your mother knew it. I know it. And now maybe you know it too. She cried then. Finally. Properly. The kind of crying that is not sadness but release. The kind that happens when something that has been compressed for a very long time is finally given room to expand. Her father stayed on the line. He didn't say anything else. He just breathed with her across the distance, the way he had stood beside her at the graveside. Except this time, neither of them was alone in a separate country. This time they were together in the same moment, feeling the same thing. The silence is over. She went to church that Sunday for the first time in a long time as something other than a woman going through motions. Pastor Nathaniel was preaching from Genesis. The story of Joseph, familiar, almost too familiar. The kind of Bible story that gets told so often it stops feeling true. But something about the morning was different. Something about her was different. He reached a line that he paused on. What you intended for evil, God intended for good. He looked out at the congregation. I want you to hear that carefully, he said. Joseph did not say the evil wasn't real. He did not say the pain wasn't real. He did not say the years in the pit were not years in a pit. He said, what was done against me, God converted. There is a difference between God causing your suffering and God converting your suffering. He is not the author of your pain, but he is the master of your story. And he does not waste a single chapter. Eliana opened her mouth slightly, involuntarily. She thought of the paper in her bag, the one she had written on during that Wednesday Bible study years ago, the one she had kept without knowing why. The silence of God is not the absence of God. It is the sound of something being carefully built. She finally, fully understood it. It had taken 11 years. It had cost more than she had ever wanted to pay. But she understood it now, the way you understand things that have been lived rather than merely read, with the whole body, not just the mind. After service, she walked up to Pastor Nathaniel and reintroduced herself. He remembered her father, remembered the family. How are you? He asked. She thought about the answer, the real one, not the Sunday morning one. I think I'm finally well, she said. I think something that was broken in me for a long time has been repaired. I don't know how to say it properly. Nathaniel nodded, unsurprised. Some repairs take time, he said. The slower the build, the stronger the structure. She visited Keturah on a Thursday afternoon, not to buy anything, just to visit. She had been doing this once a month. Since the provision shop, conversation, the one that had cracked the first fracture in her stone. She brought chin-chin from a woman in her street who made the best chin-chin in Surulere. Keturah laughed when she saw the bag. What is this? Offering, Eliana said. For the day you gave me tea and refused to let me be fine when I wasn't fine. They sat in the shop. The afternoon light came through. The single window at an angle that made everything look slightly golden. My father is getting a prosthetic, Eliana said. My new salary, I can afford it now. The good one. It won't be like a real leg, but it will be better than what he has. Keturah pressed her lips together, the way she did when she was moved but was not going to cry. Rhoda is coming back for Christmas. She met someone in Canada, a Nigerian man. She says he makes her laugh the way she never thought she would laugh. She's terrified and happy. Good, Keturah said. That is how it should be. Eliana looked at the window, at the slanted light. I used to think God had forgotten me, she said. I know that's not a new feeling. I know everyone who has ever waited too long has felt that. But it felt specific, like my name had been removed from a list. And now? Now I think... She paused, choosing her words carefully, the way you choose words when you are trying to say something true. I think he was so close the whole time that I mistook the silence for absence. And the things that were taken, some of them were making space. And the waiting wasn't punishment. It was preparation. She looked at Keturah. I'm sorry it took me 11 years to understand that. Keturah waved a hand. Abraham waited 25 years. Moses waited 40. Joseph waited 13. Your 11 was not unusual. I know, but it was mine. Yes, Keturah agreed. That is always the difficulty. Knowing other people's stories helps. But in the middle of your own, the only story that feels real is yours. She picked up a piece of chin-chin and bit into it. This is why faith is a practice and not a feeling. Feelings come and go. Practice continues. Outside, the street was doing what Lagos streets do in late afternoon. Full, noisy, alive with the specific, beautiful chaos that Eliana had grown up resenting and now found she loved. A man selling ice cream, a child arguing with her mother about something urgent, an old woman walking very slowly and very purposefully, as if she knew exactly where she was going and was in no hurry to rush the journey. Eliana watched them all and felt, for the first time in 11 years, the specific peace that is not the absence of trouble but the settled knowledge that you are not outside of God's attention, that even in the silence, especially in the silence, something is being built, something strong, something that could not have been built any faster without falling apart. She didn't have everything. Her mother was still gone. Her father was still ill. The world was still difficult in the way the world is always difficult. But she had this, the knowledge that the silence had never been abandonment, that every year she had sat in that pew feeling nothing. Something was happening at a level she couldn't see, that the broken relationship, the lost job, the friend who moved to another country, each of these had repositioned her, precisely like a chess piece being moved by a hand she couldn't see toward a square she hadn't yet recognized as significant. God was silent for years. But his perfect plan, his perfect patient unhurrying plan, never failed. For I know the plans I have for you, and declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Jeremiah 29:11.